And we're back again. Now I want to give a shout out to the Name of Your Voice for being someone who knows a whole lot more about Buster Groove than I do. And I'm sure if they see this, they'll be able to leave a few more details in the comments. We're just going to go ahead and get into our topic of the day. So as you can see, we are covering the sequel to Buster Groove 2, which was also known as Dance Tengoku Mix in Japan. And as I said before in the previous video, Europe did not get this game because fuck us, I guess. The game takes place a year after the first game, and you may wonder why this is relevant at all. Well, it's because we have a story mode, but that was Japanese only. Yes, you heard that correctly. Buster Groove 2 did in fact have CG endings for each character, which were only narrated in English. Even in the Japanese version, they only gave people that were playing subtitles. Why was that removed?
Family TV program, Dancing Heroes.
And now, for your entertaining pleasure, introducing the host of hosts, James Tsuneoka!
What do you need to get the Beatles back together again? 3 more bullets.
Never mind, I think we have an idea why. Even then, I think this game was generally hurt by the exclusion of these cutscenes, and with the whole thing being animated, it didn't help that you just couldn't take James out of it. Now, what about the gameplay? Well, the gameplay is very much the same thing, but more cleaned up, and it's way more appealing, and even the backgrounds in this game have a lot more going on. Now, most characters from the first game are in the second, but even characters who seem to be pretty big when it came to the advertisement for the first game, such as Frida, did not make the cut, but are referenced in cutscenes. Staying on the character side of things, we also have more hidden characters this time around, which take the same style from the bass dancer, and the only thing really being changed is the attack animation and sounds that they make. When reviewed by Next Generation, they gave it 3 stars out of 5 and said that honestly the whole game just feels like a retread of the past, which is fair when you consider that the version that they were playing was the censored one, in which you lose out on any sort of characterization through story because there is no story, and even IGN said it was too similar to the original. Also, on that topic, does anyone even listen or read article reviews for games anymore that's not from a YouTuber? I feel like YouTubers are just more authentic. Getting back on track, Buster Groove 2 still manages to be one of the more valuable games for the PlayStation, from copies of it being up to $100. And of course you have the obscure arcade port included on top of that. And for the people who did get to play this game, I think they'll be surprised to find that the arcade port did have 6 extra songs, which will be included in this tier list. So let's begin. So for our first song, we have Allegretto Break for Capoeira, in which I really like this type of song for them. The song was created by Junichi Tanaka, and honestly, I was not able to find much else on the guy other than that. I could have sworn that the beginning sample that was used, I swear it's in a Beatmania song or in like a Beatmania theme, but I could not find the example at all, so maybe I just misheard it somewhere. This kind of spacey theme really fits Capoeira since it capitalizes on them being aliens rather than their dance style from the first one. As for the story of Capoeira, it just has something to do with one of the aliens wanting to be on a Japanese billboard and brought a really old one for 3 million yen, and it was a fake. I don't know, they could have done a whole lot more with this plot. The hidden characters for this stage is Chi-Chi and Sally, which can be seen in the background. But as for the song, I'm going to put it in B for being a good bass song in general.
He's a hero who's not afraid to start from zero. Somebody who will
Then we have Hiro with Let the Music Take Control, which was sung by the Stellar All-Stars. And if you know anything about rhythm game terms when it comes to their artists, usually when an artist is referred to as an all-star or something all-stars, that usually means that multiple artists helped work on it. And honestly, Hiro really came out the gate swinging in both games. He really is 2 for 2 when it comes to his themes. I think that this theme is worse than his first one, but what is that saying when they are both this good? Hiro was also censored when it came to the American version, with his icon being a cigarette now being changed to a I love me. When it comes to Hiro's story, he honestly doesn't really have a whole lot going on. It's mainly just him being obsessed over his hair, being really into the disco scene. Hustle Kong is the hidden character from this stage. There really doesn't seem to be any sort of link between the two other than Hustle Kong being in the background of Hiro's stage. For Let the Music Take Control, I'm going to give it an S. Hello Kitty, which was sung by Anji. So naturally, I found nothing when looking for the singer of this song. I think the song itself is very solid, but I feel myself wanting more, and I think it's because of the impact Kitty's song had on the first game. However, the singer of the English version, La La Moore, has a bit of a repertoire, with the biggest thing I found was her singing a song for another rhythm game called Beat and Groovy. I'm not going to deviate on this point for long, but it looks to have been a pop and music reskin for Western audiences. And I think the funniest thing about these two different versions of the same song is that one or both versions have things that I think if they were put together would have made the song much better in general. For example, the Japanese version having backing vocals in points where the English version does not. As for the story of Kitty in this game, it's a little weird and I think maybe dated. To sum it up, it talks about how she went solo, which is what she did in the first game, and how she practiced hard with her dance instructor, who is a hidden playable character, Michael Doi. Kitty falls in love with him and tries to get him to notice her, but he's kinda...
Hi, gay!
Honestly, there's not much else to say other than that. I'm gonna put this song in the A tier. Next we have Enka 1, which was created by Parts of Console and Michiko Kawaii. Now I couldn't really find anything for the Parts of Console part of this partnership, but the only one that really shows up is Michiko Kawai, and she seems to be an actor, so I'm just going to assume that this is her, despite finding nothing that says that this might be the same one. Now this song Enka itself is a song that I feel is going to be very polarizing. I think this is essentially the chemical love of Busta Groove 2, and for me, I really like the energy that this song exudes. As for the character of Pander, without research, this character is really creepy, and you're gonna find yourself being more creeped out more than anything. But I think that's because that this character is based solely on the dance style of Butoh, which from a design standpoint, everything about Pander is meant to be jarring and unsettling, from his character portrait to his design. So what is Butoh and why does it play such a big part in Pander's design? Well, Butoh, or should I say Anko Butoh, which translates to Dance of Utter Darkness, its existence is inherently a representation of rejection of Western dance styles. It's almost theatrical, based on slow movements, stillness, and not moving to the music but letting the music move you. When you watch it, I guess it could be seen as someone being more in like a trance-like state more than anything. This also really extends to Pander's design as well, as it starts out as a small panda figure and then turning into probably the most realistic interpretation of a person in this game. From the white makeup to the odd design choices, but the choice of adding Butoh was kind of strange, but I mean, we now know about it. I guess that makes us better for it. And naturally, Pander would have no story, which is why my focus was mainly on the design of him. Personally, I give Anchor 1 an S.
Watch out, worldwide, here comes trouble. Move out of my way. Watch out, worldwide, here comes trouble. Move out of my way. Watch out, worldwide, here comes trouble. That's what, move out of my way. Watch out, worldwide, here comes trouble.
Now we have Here Comes Trouble, which was sung by Masters of Funk. And I did find multiple albums, which I believe is the same people, considering they had worked with other artists who also worked on Busta Groove, such as Aran and Robbie Danzy. Now, I don't have much to say about this song other than I don't hate it. It really gives me the feeling of those memes that people talk about the 80s rap scene.
Lottie, hills and hills, hills in the hills, every fish has gills. But if we tell, then it's gonna be well.
Hip hop, it started out in the park. Hip hop, you know how we do it. We get out on the block, start break dancing. We hanging out with our friends, shaking hands. We do the dance. Go to the ball and shoot some hoop. Okay.
It is personally just not my kind of style, and as for Strike himself, when it comes to his story, it is mainly just he got snitched on, he went to prison, where he somehow shaved 15 years off of his prison sentence? That makes no sense. He started making music with a group in prison and they got famous from it. And then when they got released from prison, they went to go out and do crimes while they played their music because antisocial behavior. I don't really have much else to say about this other than you're going into the C2. Got to Be Happy by Yukihiro Fukutomi and Momoko Suzuki. When it comes to these two, I'm going to look at them separately. Yukihiro has done work on series such as Lupin the Third, Gundam, Persona 3 and 5, and Sailor Moon, whereas Momoko herself has quite the relationship with the City Hunter series. But in terms of the two working together, I could only find that both of their names attached to one other song called Walking in the Sun, which was a song exclusive to the arcade game Beatmania Club Mix. For Got to Be Happy, I think we have a slight too bad issue when it comes to the song, if you remember the last video, where you really wish it went somewhere and it just doesn't. It's the same thing for the large majority of the song, with us only really getting a really big payoff towards the end of the song. While I do like this song, it is not the first song that I really gravitate to. What about Tsutomu as a character? Well, he's a school kid who has very successful parents, and he is bullied for that. And he also gets really angry about being bullied to the point where he pees himself, and that the only person who listens to him is his teacher, who he plans to marry when he turns 18. I'm giving you a B.
The heat is on, ain't no stopping now. Don't be stepping on the scene, make you get down. It's a brother with moves that you can't resist. It's like this and this and this. Ain't no need to try to duplicate this whip, cause if you do, you might trip and bust your lips off. Feel the fire.
So if you find that the audio from this got muted, that's because Aran G. West, the artist behind Hiro Theme, has really stayed on the copyright train when it comes to his music, which, you know, go for it, absolutely do that. At least from what I've heard when it comes to YouTube comments in the Buster Groove community. I believe that Aran G released a second version of this song on Amazon Music and on YouTube. For me, the key point of the Heat Is On is the chorus. I'm not a big fan of the rap myself, but I absolutely adore this chorus, especially when you have the ad-libs in the background as well, in which I still prefer the original, but it is really nice to see when people remake things from games. As for Aran G, he's still making music on his YouTube channel, so go check him out if you're interested in his sound. As for Heat himself, well, his story is that he was a race car driver who got into a really bad accident and nearly died, but recovered very quickly and gained fire powers from it. There's really not much else to it than that. I'm giving the Heat Is On an A. Now we have the arcade exclusive Dragon Breaker, and I would say I have an idea of who made these exclusive, but I really have no idea. Most of the songs sound like they're from Beatmania from this point onwards, at least when it comes to the exclusives, and considering that Beatmania had been around for roughly a year and a half at this point, Beatmania was huge in Japan, even still is, especially around the point where Buster Groove 2 came out. Beatmania was just about to release its 4th mix edition. I personally like to believe that most songs that were arcade exclusives to the Buster Groove 2 cabinet may have been commissioned from Konami's Bimani branch to make the songs, just because a lot of these have Beatmania vibe, and a lot of the people who worked on Buster Groove 2 did work on Beatmania or have credits within the Beatmania games. Personally, for me, I think Dragon Breaker has some really high points and some really low points, but generally, it's not appealing to me, and I'm giving it a C. Now we have Moonlight Party, and before I start on this song, can I just say, I'm so glad Kelly doesn't have the baby outfit anymore. I don't care what anyone else says, and I don't care what else she would have worn, but this is just so much better. So the Japanese version is by DJ Hasabe and Emiko. As usual, could not find much on Emiko, but as for DJ Hasabe, from the one that I found online, I believe this is the right person since this song genre matches the genre that he is very well known for, and he is also known to go by Old Nick at times, but he seems to be doing just fine and still working as a DJ. While I think the Japanese version is good, I think the vocals really let it down with it not being rich enough for the sound of the song, and I think it's a very similar issue to what happened with Buster Groove 1 when it comes to Kelly's theme of Transform.
Gathering the memories from the missing recollection. Take my hand and hold on tight, and we'll be as one. The everlasting aching pain that has been clinging all on you. Cast it aside.
Then we go to the English version of Moonlight Part 2, and this version really just eclipses the Japanese version. It just does. This was done by a familiar name, Robbie Danzu, who also did Kelly's theme in the first game, and really the only negatives that I have with the Japanese version are really rectified in this version, because Robbie is just able to hit it with this theme. But even then, none of the versions are really bad. As for Kelly's story, she worked at a pretty big business, I guess, and she liked to dress up for underground parties, which explains the baby outfit, where one of her colleagues or bosses saw her at one of these events and shamed her for dressing up as a baby, which, I mean, absolutely go for it. But I think another question is, sir, why are you here? I really would not have said anything if that was me, considering you are both at the same place. But from then on, she took off the baby outfit and wore a police outfit to make a change or something like that. I'm going to be putting the Japanese version in B and the English version in A. Then you have Kelly's arcade exclusive song, Dead Girl. Now, with the arcade songs, I think it's important to notice that I doubt any of these songs were meant to have anything to do with the actual character or have any relevance to them, and are just meant to be, well, exclusive songs. And to be fair, I kind of like this. There's a whole lot of samples in this song, in which, for any of the Beatmania players out there, I'm sure you'll recognize this sample. Personally, I kind of like this, so I'm going to put Dead Girl in B. Then we have Magic Tower by Tetsutaru Sakurai and Lala Moore. So we've already been over Lala, but Tetsutaru is kind of interesting. Now you may wonder to yourself, why did I not say anything else about the English version of this song? And well, it's because that when it comes to this song, it's pretty much identical. When it comes to the Japanese version, the vocalist for this one was Momoko Suzuki, who we have also been over before. I think both versions sound great. I really don't have anything much to say about the actual song, but I think the sound is really interesting. Now, when it comes to the song, do I think it does a good job of lining up with Comet's character? No, not exactly. Comet's story is already weird, as when she was young, she was kidnapped, and as they were about to kill her, the kidnapper turned into a green pepper, and she just suddenly knew she had superpowers from that point on that would turn people into food. So she just randomly goes about her day transforming people into food for no reason, and just does it. And yes, there's a lot of questions that aren't answered about this, and it just won't be. As for the song itself, both versions are going into the A tier with them being exactly the same. I will put the English version above the Japanese version just because I prefer Lala's voice to Momoko's. Then we have the arcade exclusive song for Comet, which is Blade, which generally is not good. Well, to say it's not good isn't quite correct, but this is something that I feel like should be in King of Fighters or Street Fighter. I just feel with this being in Buster Groove, it's a slightly poor fit here. And considering the kind of songs that are a part of the Buster Groove soundtrack, I do believe this brings it down. But what does it matter when most people don't even know about these songs that have played the game? Next we have Zombie Hopper, which was created by Kaname, also known as Kaname Ota, which is someone who has done composing for Macross 7 and the Gamera soundtrack. And with that being said, I hate the song. I absolutely hate the sound of this song. I don't think it sounds good, and I think it does very little for the character of Bayo. Last video I said about the character Gasso and how his story didn't really matter until the second game. And well, it's because of this. Bayo and Gasso are father and son, and one day Gasso came in from doing experiments, I guess, and his dad didn't want him wearing the mask at the table or something like that, and so he tried to forcefully take it off his face. And I think from this point, this is where all normalcy of the situation sort of flies out the window. Bayo then goes to grab an axe on the wall, and feeling threatened, Gasso sprays gas at him, which causes Bayo's face to melt. And as Bayo is in pain, Gasso takes the axe and axes his dad. And now with Gasso in prison and Bayo being lonely and ugly, that's sort of all he's got. Now, can you tell me where the stage with the pirate ship, or really any of this, reads into Bayo's character from what we've just gone over? Because I don't see it. Also, I don't really understand the zombie motif for Bayo. Like, I understand it from a design perspective, but notice how he went through the story, and it's not like he's dead. Even to the point where his dance style is just labeled as zombie, and from looking at it, all this means is that it's just a mixture of pop and locking, as well as like Michael Jackson Thriller movements. Zombie Hopper goes to the detail. As for Bayo's arcade exclusive, I'm not going to lie, I am kind of feeling this song pretty hard. The song itself gives me big ballroom vibes. And I definitely think Overshade over Zombie Hopper would have been the preferable lineup. So I'm giving this a B. Next we have Acid Line, which was made by JoJoka, whose main thing is that they compose quite a bit of the music for the Res series. I think this song is for some people out there, but I don't think it's for me personally. The only thing I can really give to this song is that it is musically complex and it has a lot of layers to it, but it's not my kind of sound. And for someone who was the big boss of the previous game, I'm surprised that there's zero story at all, or even for Robo-Z Gold in this one. I also think it was pretty interesting having his dance style go from Vogue to African dance, but altogether, I'm gonna have to put Azaline in D. As for Robo-Z Gold's arcade exclusive, Unknown, my favourite part of the song mainly just goes to the breakdown towards the end. Other than that, I can't really give it anything more than that. I'm gonna have to place Unknown in the C tier.
Oh, I'm missing you and I see you every day. Deep in my heart, I'm longing for your love. I need to feel the warmth of you. I wanna be in the sunshine.
Now we have Happy Heart in the Sunshine, in which this version was sung by Robbie Danzy. And I feel this is a similar situation to Moonlight Party, where I think where the Japanese version there was not quite the best voice for that kind of theme, here I feel like Robbie's voice is not the best fit for this kind of theme. And while it is not bad at all, I feel Robbie's richer voice just doesn't quite match the theme of the song or the energy. Then we have the Japanese version, which translates to Happy Heart Behind Your Knees. I don't know. In which I think this is probably the perfect Shorty theme when it comes to the voice and everything. I think the voice is a perfect match for the sound, sung by Ai. Yet again, was not able to find anything on this vocalist at all. But this is what I'm talking about when it comes to having the right sound of the vocalist for the song. As for Shorty's story, it's kind of contradictory from what was said in Buster Groove 1, with her previous theme saying things like,
My mama tells me every day not to move so fast across the room. She's worried I'll break something.
but in the second game this seems to not really count as her story. As her story is that she was lonely and neglected by her mother, which is why she got Columbo as a present. So I guess we're just going to forget about the first game. My ranking for these two songs are A for the English version and S for the Japanese version.
Okay, here's something to clear the sky.
As for Shorty's arcade exclusive, Cookie Cookie, this is a very strange song, and while I don't hate it, this song happens to be the most song-like songs in the arcade exclusive lineup, with it being the only one that has like full vocals all the way through. The song is very one note, and I am not a fan of the breakdowns of the song. I just don't believe that this song has as much impact to it as much as Shorty's standard version. And for that reason, I'm going to place it in the C tier. Well, that's the second game done for. In all honesty, I just don't think with all the changes that this game went through when it comes to like the Japanese version compared to the US version, that it was really ever going to succeed. Technically speaking, the first game had more content just based on playtime because everyone had final cutscenes at the end of the game, whereas in the US version it just went straight to the credits. But I do not think that this takes away from the fact that Europe should have received it as well, but I think with all the change that had to be made, they just kind of didn't bother. As for you guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. And that's enough of me rambling. I think that's a wrap.